Hi, this is Peter from Zzipp Media. This is another talk on my local authors playlist. Today I'm talking to Harry Walton, a local author, about his new book, which seems very interesting. Okay, over to you now, Harry.
Well, Peter, it was an idea I had quite a few years ago to take all the standard science fiction fear of aliens and alien invasions and completely reverse it and have the aliens frightened of us instead. So the book plots the Galactic Council of Planets discussion on what to do about Earth, who they believe will develop space travel within the next 2 centuries. The question is, they ask themselves, do we help them or do we isolate them? And to help them, the Earth has to justify that it's a responsible planet willing to follow its own laws. But they can't monitor everything, which they do over a number of years. That the minutiae, the little things that would escape them, they enlist the help of a noted lecturer on Earth who speaks about the possibility of life on other planets. And he is initially, as you might imagine, a little to contact. But he sets his price as being, if he does agree to help, then in return he wants to be taken to an alien world where he can study an alien civilization, wages, if you like.
Right.
Unfortunately, the powers that be on Earth, the governments, are set one final test by the aliens, who don't actually tell the man who is helping them on Earth that they're going to do it, and they expose a shielded spaceship over this man's home. And of course all the world goes mad and wants to know how it works and what the technology is and whether they can do it, and there's competition to get details and information, and it goes against a lot of the beliefs and the laws of the planet, which the aliens duly note down. And I won't tell you how it ends, obviously, but it has a few twists and turns along the way. In fact, that's the book. Don't know whether you can see it.
Yeah, your hero is called Bodmin Carter. Yeah,
it is. He lives in Weymouth because I'd recently been to Bodmin,
right.
the town in Cornwall.
Yeah.
So I thought, Bodmin, that's a nice name for a character if I ever get around to it, and I did.
Right.
But as I say, it took me a while to put it all together. Daft though it may sound, there is an element of research. About at least 6 months.
6 months.
About, as I said, at least 6 months. But you can't. It's because people who do read it may have a view on a particular fact or something, and they say, yeah, but you wouldn't get that. You have to check just the ordinary abilities of things. For instance, one of the chapters is set in a certain place. Now, I had to research as much as I could of that place to make it as authentic as I could. Otherwise, people say, yeah, it's not like that at all, you know, or whatever. But once you do that, you just got to mingle, if you like, as much fact as you can with fiction.
Right. Okay, so did you kind of self-publish the book, or did you go to a publisher? Or?
Well, it's the world of publishing. I do this as a hobby, not as a business. So I don't expect to make any money, which is just as well, because I'm not. But the reason why I'm not is not because my books aren't selling, which they are, but because Amazon, which takes all the risks doing the printing work and doing the distribution work, takes most of the profits as well. And I don't mind that too much, but to give you an idea of why I went and self-published through Amazon, I went into various agencies and agents and contacted them and got feedback, and they were pretty brutal. They wanted £3,000 to £10,000 up front before they'd even consider it, and then some of them wouldn't even consider it. So I decided that I could sit and prevaricate forever, or I could do it myself. So I set it all up. We were able to get it, the first one published, which was the hardest, to get yourself actually established on Amazon. But there are 4 books on my author account now, which you can access again via Amazon and just see the various books. All the books are for sale on Amazon, and again, you can access that simply by either typing the name of the book in or by typing my name in as the author. But right. I've written a trilogy. This is a standalone novel, just a one-off, or what might be a one-off. Then I'm currently correcting a second trilogy to follow on from the first with the same characters, because they proved very popular. And a lot of people were interested in the scenario, because the trilogy is set 25 years ahead, after the world's nearly wiped out, and it's basically about the survivors, who are all in the Launceston area of Cornwall, but also there were scenes in the early books involving Weymouth and Dorchester and Blood and all the local towns like that. But another book and another story. The Right to the Stars was something that you think of on a spur of the moment, and I thought of that must be 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And of course at that time I was still working, and now that I've got the time, it's simply a matter of being organized enough to sit down and work for a set period each day, which is what I do first thing in the morning, for an hour or 2 hours or however long it takes. Sometimes I don't write anything, it's all research, but usually it's a little bit of both. Enough that you can write a page or page and a half, however long it takes. Because as I say, sometimes when you start writing, you have to interrupt it because something occurred to you which needs checking. So you have to check and check again. And but it came together, and because I've got these books I've already written, the pressure on writing the next one is much reduced because it's there waiting in the wings. So the new books that I'm currently writing, there's no pressure to finish them in time to get them published, because I've got lots of spare time to complete the first one anyway.
Right.
This is a different trilogy I'm writing about hidden treasure in Egypt, and how a young boy develops into a man who makes it, if you like, his life's work to try and track down A, if this treasure exists, and B, if he can find it.
Sure. You say you've got a few books there with you you've done before. Do you want to just show them on screen?
Let me just show you. The first one I wrote is this one.
Right.
Oops, go up there. It's difficult to work out how to show it, but that's the Rusting Shires. That's the very first survivors book. It's set in 2043, 2044, and then I jumped forward quite a few years quite quickly, and it's largely set in 2048 and 2049. And then that's followed by the sequel, which is Rattle of Bones.
Right. Yep.
And you can see that. And then the conclusion of the trilogy is Skymaster.
Right.
And I've just actually had a message from one of the people who's bought the book and read it, and they said it was absolutely, amazing to them that I could hold a plot in such detail and still make it exciting over 3 books, which was very flattering. But it shouldn't be interpreted as some sort of super skill I've got, because you find as an author that you just get involved with what you're writing, and lots of things occur to you from either side.
Yeah.
So when they occur, you can, because obviously the book isn't finished, if you want to change the plot a bit and tweak it, you can just take this fresh idea that's occurred to you, go back into the book, insert it, make any changes that you need to, so that it beds in and doesn't clash with anything you've already said. And then you can develop all sorts of little side plots and what have you. That's part of the secret of writing these books, is to have a main plot, but to have subplots as well, and different ideas to take the reader off.
Yeah, be flexible in your plot. If another idea occurs,
Yeah,
you can go back and change it around.
Yeah, that's right. Much like you're probably going to have to change this around. Ah, there you are. You're back. But it was amazing, because I've got an editor's book and checklist there. I've got 1 dictionary there. I've got 3 more dictionaries on there, and that's without spell check and the delights of that, and trying to make certain that the way you've got it set up is for English, right, and not American English, which offers you a whole new world of spelling interpretations, which I'm not particularly fond of. But you just got to stay on the ball, and then there's the usual construction suggestions which will appear, and just got to be alert, and I never write when I don't want to. I don't, just because there's a day where something may interrupt me early on in the day and I can't write early on, I don't feel that in the evening I must play catch up and must do 1 or 2 hours. I only write when I want to, because that makes it interesting for me. If I'm interested enough to write, then it should, I hope, reflect in what I produce and be of interest to the readers when they come to go through the plot.
Do you think writing when you don't want to puts pressure on yourself and you don't do it?
Yes, because you have to want it. And if you're tired or you've had an awkward day, that's not a good frame of mind to sit down and try and interest people. So that's why I write first thing in the morning, when I'm fresh, alert, the brain's working a bit faster than it is at the end of the day, and you also have ideas that may have occurred to you overnight. Quite often when I'm in bed, I might be just sort of lazing away and something will occur to me. Trouble is, I can never remember to have a pencil and paper by the side of the bed so I can write it all down before I forget what I thought of.
I know. As you know, I worked at Wilko's for many years, 17 years, Wilko's in town. I retired in December of last year, and I write poetry a lot. And it's amazing the lines that come into your head when you are facing a shelf up, say, bringing everything to the front. And a line occurs to you, and you have to stop and find a piece of paper and a pen and write it down.
Otherwise, very much so. Very much so. Even if it's only sort of 5 or 6 words, just enough so that you can remember the idea that you thought of. For instance, the book I'm currently writing, I approached it in one way, and I'm still approaching it that way. But at the back of my mind is an idea to perhaps break up the first chapter a bit and spread it through the book. I haven't got around to that yet. I shall have to see how I get on with the main character, who's still only the age of a boy at the moment. By the time the end of the trilogy comes, he'll probably be, I would think, between 25 and 30. So he's got a long way to go. Yeah, he's only about 11 at the moment. So there's a few years down the road ahead of him.
So you are magnifying his life in a way. You know, you
Well,
were
yeah. I mean, I'm
inside.
taking him through. I'm taking him through how he came to be interested in Egyptology and hieroglyphics and
Right,
Egyptian history, and then having him develop academically to a position where he could do the research necessary for what he's trying to find out. And crucially, of course, what that little thing that he finds um, tucked away somewhere, which I won't reveal how, which encourages him to do uh, the pursuit to find out why this anomaly exists, set in stone,
right.
and what he believes it might be.
So that's something for people to look forward to.
The future.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I reckon the way we stand now, Right to the Stars has only recently been published in the last couple of months or so.
Right.
I've got the first book of the new trilogy, which is currently being corrected. My friend and neighbour does all my illustrations for me, including the one you see here, the Right for the Stars. That was dreamt up by him,
Yeah.
and with a little bit of cooperation and discussion with me, and he will doubtless do the next one. So if we reckon the first part of the trilogy in Christmas, New Year 23-24, the second part sometime in summer next year, the final part about just over a year ahead towards Christmas next year, I've got to have the first installment of the Egyptian trilogy ready to follow that, probably in something like summer 25.
Right. Right.
It's a When you sit them down, I mean, I run a folder on my computer which basically has nothing in it but ideas for future books. And there's about 4 or 5 in there. A lot of them of a sort of a fantasy style nature, different civilizations and how they cope with a particular threat or a particular change. Um, Unusual exploration in space, one of which I thought about how a man might be the sole survivor of an expedition from Earth and end up on a planet which had lost its civilization millions of years before, but they were so advanced they left details of all their discoveries in a giant library which was self-sustaining, and just see how he would explore that and what he could, if any, bring back
Recreate.
the different types of knowledge from there to Earth, and also whether or not they should look to follow in these people's footsteps because they've left details of the next galaxy that they're going on to look
Right.
at. But there's also
Right. Sounds.
down, you forget them.
Yeah. So that sounds great. So people can click on the link under this video if they want to buy
Yes.
the book from Amazon.
And
And
what's more, anybody who does buy them and wants to contact me via Facebook or WhatsApp or whatever, I'm more than happy to meet them in Weymouth Town Centre and sign their book for them. Because I know a lot of people have asked me to do this. I must have signed. I have signed dozens. So
have you got any events coming up?
have I got any events signing up? No, I just they generally we meet in a coffee house or over a pint, and they'll bring their book along, and I'll sign it on the spot. It's
Okay.
quite simple.
Nothing complicated. I like simple.
Nothing complicated is about right. Yes.
All right. Well,
The only complicated thing is finding a space on my jammed bookshelves for my own books. Very difficult, but a nice problem
okay.
to have.
Okay. Thanks, Harry, for the interview. And
You're welcome,
this
and
will
thanks for
go, as I
interviewing me.
say, on my local authors playlist. When this is finished, I'll get down to edit that, and you can share that wherever you want. All right.
I will do so. Rightio. Keep in touch.
Yeah, you too. Thanks a lot.
And
Bye.
all the best, mate. Cheers.